I disappeared without telling anyone. At first, no one noticed. Everyone thought I was just throwing a tantrum and would be back soon. But 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, a month passed, and I still hadn't shown up. I originally thought I could live a quiet life on my own, until a teacher from school called. The Chu family finally realized I hadn't been home in a long time. My father, Chu Guoan, said angrily, "Didn't I just not buy him a cake? Is that enough reason to not come home? Doesn't he even have the money to buy a cake himself? Have I been short on his allowance all these years?" My mother, Liu Ru, sighed. "This child is really so unreasonable. He takes money from the family but doesn't even know how to spend it." As she spoke, Liu Ru asked Chu Guoan, "How much allowance do you give him each month?" I also want to ask him, why can't he just buy a cake himself? Chu Guoan was a bit confused by the question. He's so unreasonable. How could I give him an allowance? As he spoke, he added, "Even if I don't give him an allowance, the allowance you give him should be enough." Liu Ru was stunned. "I haven't been giving him an allowance either." Before the words were even out, the two of them suddenly looked at each other. They asked in unison, "Have we both not been giving him an allowance?" The two of them couldn't quite believe it. The allowance they gave Chu Fei was tens of thousands every month, plus what his 3 older sisters occasionally gave him. He never had to worry about not having money to spend. On holidays or his birthday, they would give him even more. But it seems they had never given me any money. My father, Chu Guoan, called the nanny over. He asked where Chu Wen's room was. The nanny was a little surprised. This whole family didn't even know where their own biological son's room was. But as the Chu family's nanny, she knew better than to ask unnecessary questions. She respectfully led the way for them. "Master, madam, the 3 young misses, please follow me." The nanny weaved left and right between the rooms. Finally, the nanny stopped in a corner in front of a small storage room. "Master, madam, the 3 young misses, this is young Master Chu Wen's room." Under everyone's doubtful gaze, the nanny pushed the door open. The tiny room appeared before their eyes. Everyone stared in shock at this pitifully small room. There were even 3 words stuck on the door. Storage room. Chu Wen. He. "Why is he in here?" Liu Ru said in disbelief. Chu Guoan frowned deeply. He unhappily asked the nanny, "What's going on? Why is Chu Wen in the storage room?" The nanny sighed to herself. She told the truth. "Sir, young Master Chu Wen, when he was 8 years old, moved into this storage room. He has been living in this storage room for 8 years. To be honest, this tiny storage room is even smaller than the nanny's room. The furniture inside is pitifully sparse. The true young master of a wealthy family is living in such a small room, while the adopted young master lives in his large room, spending the money that originally belonged to him, enjoying the affection of the entire family." The nanny also felt sorry for him. "But my position is humble, and the master and madam are stubbornly blind. There was nothing I could do." Liu Ru and Chu Guoan looked at each other in shock. They remembered. That year, when he was 8, they had adopted Chu Fei. Chu Fei liked Chu Wen's large room. At the time, they had originally planned to arrange another large room for him, but because he kept making mistakes, they wanted to teach him a lesson, so they put the matter aside. They never expected that putting it aside would mean for 8 whole years. A flash of guilt appeared in Liu Ru's and Chu Guoan's eyes. "I am their biological son, yet I lived in such a small storage room in the Chu family home for 8 years. In the end, they had wronged me." They entered the room one by one. Everything in the room was completely different from what they had imagined. The room was very small. Besides a small bed, there was only a simple wardrobe, a small table, and a small stool. The blanket on the bed was also very thin. It's hard to imagine how he survived the winter. With 5 people standing in the room, it was indescribably cramped. Seeing this scene, the 3 sisters were also truly shocked. Their rooms and Chu Fei's room were very, very large. Not only did they have good lighting, but all the decor was done by a top designer. As children of the Chu family, they couldn't imagine me living in such a cramped and depressing storage room. There was a bank card on the table. Liu Ru recognized it at a glance. This was from when I was young. She had given it to me as a birthday present. He didn't even take this bank card with him. He doesn't even want the bank card. Is Chu Wen planning to starve to death outside? Chu Shiyue said irritably. Although you can link the bank card to your phone, this card is in Mom's name. Each of them had one. He left the bank card at home. Isn't he afraid Mom will freeze it? Liu Ru picked up the bank card with trembling hands. She hurriedly opened her phone to check the card's transaction history. The rest of the Chu family clearly knew Liu Ru's intention and quickly leaned in to look. Opening her phone, Liu Ru accessed the account that for 8 years she hadn't opened. The scene that then appeared on the phone screen left everyone completely stunned. This account was empty except for the 200,000 Liu Ru had transferred. It was empty. There hadn't been a single transaction in 8 years. The last transaction on this card was from 6 years ago, and the last deposit was recorded 8 years ago. In other words, since 6 years ago, when I was 10, I had stopped using this card for expenses. Chu Guoan's voice was a bit strained. "When was the last time any of you gave Chu Wen cash?" The room was completely silent. After a long silence, Liu Ru replied that it was 8 years ago. The 3 Chu sisters were also quite shocked. They said in unison, "Us too." "Then how has he been living all this time?" Chu Junlun muttered in disbelief. At this moment, the nanny standing by could no longer hold it in. She had been a nanny for the Chu family for over 20 years. Since before the eldest young miss was born, she had been with the Chu family. She saw that, "Sir and madam, since you adopted the young master Chu Wen often stayed in this storage room, often angered you, and didn't have enough to eat. For the first 2 years when he was hungry, it was manageable. Young Master Chu Wen would buy some bread to fill his stomach. Later, after young Master Chu Wen's money ran out and he had gone hungry for a while, one day when I went out to buy groceries, I found him washing dishes at a restaurant outside." "How could that be? Washing dishes?" Liu Ru shouted in disbelief. The nanny nodded. "At that time, young Master Chu Wen was still young and didn't earn much. I would often sneak him some bread to eat. Later, as young Master Chu Wen grew older, he could earn his own money to buy bread." The whole family was stunned. It was true that whenever I was home, I would always cause all sorts of trouble. Each time, I only dared to take the food directly in front of me. Every time I was scolded or hit, it seemed I really couldn't eat much. They never imagined he would be so hungry that he had to go out and work to earn money. 10 years old, just 10 years old, he actually went out to wash dishes. Moreover, this part-time job lasted for 6 years. Chu Guan said angrily. "Something this big, why didn't you tell me?" Nanny was startled by his anger. She quickly said, "When I discovered him, young Master Chu Wen also saw me. He begged me not to tell you." Liu Ru was crying silently. Her poor son. She couldn't imagine a 10-year-old child, so small, going out to wash dishes for others, earning a meager amount of money to buy bread. He is a child of the Chu family, the young master of the Chu family who was pampered since birth. How could he endure such hardship? Her 3 daughters, from childhood to adulthood, had never even cooked a bowl of noodles, let alone going out to wash dishes to earn a living. Liu Ru thought of my rough, calloused hands. Her heart felt like it was being squeezed by a hand. The pain was excruciating. Chu Guan stood there in a daze. He mumbled, "I remember now. A few years ago, a hotel owner told me that a boy washing dishes in their back kitchen looked like Chu Wen. I didn't pay it any mind back then. I never thought he would go wash dishes for others to earn money. Until this moment, Chu Guan finally admitted the truth that I was not living well in the Chu family home. He was full of regret. If he had gone to check back then, I wouldn't have had to suffer for so many years." Liu Ru said through her tears. "It's all our fault. We were too strict with him. We gave him too little care, far too little. That's why he didn't dare to tell us." Chu Junlan let out a sigh. She had once accidentally seen my rough hands. Although she was suspicious at the time, she was used to being cold to me, so she didn't ask. Hearing Mom and Dad say that he was really bullied today and even got hurt, I wonder how he is now. In the tiny storage room, the atmosphere was extremely suffocating. Chu Ruohan was deep in thought, but said nothing. Although Chu Shiyue was a little moved, she still looked down on me. For all we know, this could be his self-pity trick. In a blind spot outside the door where they couldn't see him, Chu Fei's whole body was rigid. His fists were clenched tightly. That bastard, I thought after driving him away. This house would truly belong to me. He finally left after so much trouble, but I didn't expect his leaving would make them care about him. Chu Fei took a deep breath, suppressing the anger and jealousy in his heart. He pretended to have just woken up and walked out from around the corner in front of everyone. "Dad, Mom, you're back." His voice was weak and feeble. He leaned against the door frame, as if he could collapse at any moment. Chu Fei Liu Ru cried out. She rushed forward to support Chu Fei. She said gently, "Are you not feeling well again?" Chu Fei clutched his heart and nodded weakly. "I'm fine. You'll be okay after a little rest." Chu Fei's face was rosy. He didn't look weak at all, but this clumsy acting of his was enough to fool the Chu family. While acting weak, he didn't forget to ask, "How is brother Chu Wen? Is he okay?" Hearing Chu Fei's voice, Liu Ru stopped crying. She went to Chu Fei, hesitated for a moment, but still asked, "Chu Fei, tell me the truth. Why do you always lead people to beat up Chu Wen?" As soon as these words were spoken, the 3 sisters were all shocked. They only knew that Chu Wen had been beaten and injured, and that it was by a group of people. But how could it be? How could Chu Fei be the one leading them? Chu Fei's hanging hand suddenly clenched. He quickly adjusted his emotions. He said innocently and aggrievedly, "Mom, why would you say that? Brother Chu Wen is my brother after all. How could I lead people to beat him up?" As he spoke, his eyes quickly filled with tears, ready to fall at any moment, as if he had suffered a great injustice. However, this time, Liu Ru and Chu Guan, unlike before, didn't immediately comfort him. The movements of their hands paused. "But we've seen the surveillance footage. It was indeed you who led the group to beat Chu Wen." Liu Ru frowned slightly. Chu Fei's hands clenched tighter. "Surveillance footage? There was surveillance footage? He usually beat me in places without surveillance cameras, like bathrooms and small alleys. How could there be surveillance footage?" He carefully recalled the places where he had bullied Chu Wen before. It seemed a few times were in the hallway, careless. Before Chu Fei could say anything, Chu Shiyue quickly spoke up. "Dad, Mom, videos can be faked nowadays. How do you know the surveillance video you watched is real?" Compared to Chu Shiyue, Chu Ruohan was a bit calmer. She frowned and asked, "Dad, Mom, where did you see the surveillance footage? Did Chu Wen pull some trick?" Her words were unfinished, but everyone present understood her meaning. She resolutely refused to believe Chu Fei would lead people to bully Chu Wen. Chu Fei is so obedient and gentle, how could he proactively bully others? On the contrary, it's Chu Wen, who hangs out with a bunch of thugs outside, fighting every day. He's the one who's more like a bully. But Chu Guoan directly shattered their speculation. "We saw it at the police station. Director Yang showed it to us personally." Director Yang. Hearing this name, Chu Junlan immediately frowned. If he was the one who personally showed it to mom and dad, then Chu Fei. Could it be? Chu Junlan was the calmest of the three sisters. She had always been quietly observing Chu Fei. Chu Fei's abnormality, though not obvious, did not escape Chu Junlan's eyes. A flash of panic appeared in Chu Fei's eyes, but he was worthy of being a lifelong actor. He quickly stabilized his emotions. The tears in his eyes streamed down his cheeks. He looked at everyone with an expression of disbelief. His voice choked. Dad, Mom, big sister, second sister, third sister, you all don't believe me? Seeing him like this, Chu Guoan's and Liu Ru's hearts immediately softened. Liu Ru quickly wiped his tears. Chu Fei, it's not that Mom doesn't believe you. I know you must have a reason. I just want to ask you what the reason is. The look in Chu Guoan's eyes also visibly softened. Only Chu Junlan, looking at the miserably crying Chu Fei, frowned slightly. In 3 more days, Chu Fei would be 16. He was already a young man. Chu Wen, at 10 years old, had started to earn his own living for so many years now. Though he was always scolded, hit by dad, she had never seen him shed a single tear. But Chu Fei cried at the drop of a hat. For the first time, Chu Junlan saw Chu Fei's tears, without any desire to immediately comfort him. There was even a hint of disgust. Chu Siyue said irritably, what other reason could there be? Chu Wen fights at school every day. He must have been bullying Chu Fei at school all the time too. Chu Fei was forced to fight back. Hearing this, everyone immediately tensed up. Liu Ru looked Chu Fei up and down. Chu Fei, did he bully you? Are you okay? Are you hurt? Everyone in the Chu family was tense. Only Chu Junlan's eyes held a trace of doubt. The surveillance footage director Yang showed them was only a part of the story after all. In the places they couldn't see, who knew what had happened? A flash of triumph appeared in Chu Fei's downcast eyes. Ha ha. He didn't even need to come up with an excuse himself. He pressed his lips together, not saying a word. He said nothing, but it was as if he had said everything. One look, and what was there not to understand? Chu Wen actually dared to bully Chu Fei at school. What audacity! After bullying Chu Fei, he even turned around and accused him. He advised Chu Fei to go to the hospital, report to the police, wanting to put Chu Fei in jail. Luckily, Chu Fei isn't 16 yet, otherwise he would have fallen for his trick. And to think they felt sorry for him. Guoan and Liu Ru were immediately filled with regret. It's a good thing Chu Fei knew how to fight back, otherwise who knows what state Chu Wen would have bullied him into. The nanny was rendered speechless by this scene. As far as she knew, young Master Chu Wen had quite a few injuries on his body. And what about the little young master? From childhood till now, even with a small scratch, he would go to the madam for comfort and pity. If he were truly bullied by young Master Chu Wen, how could he have endured it? If he were truly bullied, he would have made a huge fuss long ago, letting everyone know. Only this family, with no sense of right or wrong, could be so easily deceived by him. The next day I woke up very early. Today was a special day. I had never bought a lottery ticket before. Today I passed by a lottery stand and was attracted by the winning information on it. Although the amount the person won wasn't huge, for me, who was always hungry, I truly craved it. Full of admiration, I also memorized that winning number. After a quick wash-up, I bought a steamed bun on the roadside and went straight to the lottery stand. Right now, I was penniless. I only had $2 on me, the most important thing for me now. I arrived at the counter panting and gave my only $2 to the owner. I recited the numbers from my memory to the owner. The owner was a middle-aged man. He looked at the $2 in front of him, then at my faded clothes, and shook his head inwardly. A poor kid who doesn't think about studying hard, but instead uses money to buy lottery tickets. Outside the lottery stand, passers-by saw my sallow and scrawny appearance and couldn't help but shake their heads and sigh. This child is already so poor, yet he's still taking his family's hard-earned money to buy lottery tickets. Ignoring them, I took the ticket and silently entered the long wait. Time passed second by second, minute by minute. My heart was still very nervous. 1 minute left until the draw. The atmosphere in the lottery stand became tense. The lottery ticket buyers clutched their tickets tightly, mumbling the numbers in their hands over and over. Finally, the time for the draw arrived. As I was nervously staring at the screen, my phone suddenly rang. I took it out to see. It was Chu Junlan again. Chu Fei must have said something to them at home again, which is why she's calling to scold me so early. I didn't want to waste my breath on her and hung up without hesitation. On the other end of the line, Chu Junlan couldn't believe her eyes as she stared at the phone in her hand. I actually dared to hang up on her. In the past, even if she called to scold me, I would only dare to listen obediently. I never dared to hang up on my own. A trace of anger involuntarily rose in Chu Junlan's heart. Looking at the tightly closed dorm door, she frowned deeply. It was too late yesterday, so she came to the school early this morning to find me. She even specifically asked for the location of my dorm. She really wanted to see me, to ask me what was going on. Finally, finding it annoying, I blocked Chu Junlan's number. One by one, the numbers slowly appeared on the big screen. I don't know since when. My palms are all sweaty. The first number matches, the second number matches, the third number also matches, it also matches. Finally, all the numbers are out. I let out a sigh of relief. The lottery shop is filled with sighs and curses, but I'm in a very good mood, although the money isn't much, but it's enough. I happily took my lottery ticket and went back to the counter. Owner, help me redeem my prize. My words were like a clap of thunder in the lottery shop. Everyone crowded around. He won. He really won. And the amount is not small. A full 10,000 yuan. A sloppy-looking man in his 30s couldn't help but step forward. He looked me up and down. Young man, I've never seen you before. Is this your first time buying a lottery ticket? I didn't pay much attention to him, just nodded slightly. After receiving my affirmative answer, the corner of the man's mouth unconsciously curved into a smile. He took a few more steps closer to me. Winning such a big prize on your first try. Do you have any secrets? Tell me about it. His words clearly contained danger and mockery. The lottery shop owner's hand, which was counting money, paused. He turned to ask me, I can redeem 10,000 yuan right here for you. Do you have a bank card? I can transfer it to your card. I didn't pay attention to that man and shook my head, honestly telling the owner that I didn't have one. Then do you want to transfer it to a family member's bank card? The owner looked at the other man and asked again. This guy has always been a thief. In the past, whenever someone won a prize, as long as they were alone and looked easy to bully, they would be robbed by him. He even spent a few years in prison. He's a real gangster. The young man in front of him was only in his teens and so thin and weak. Holding 10,000 yuan in cash is definitely not safe. Before he even leaves my shop, he's already been targeted. I looked at that man and understood the owner's good intentions, but I absolutely cannot transfer the money to my family's card. Just give me the cash, I said, and my words made the owner anxious. This student, at a glance, clearly doesn't understand the dangers of society. He's already been targeted, and yet he's not nervous at all. If the money gets robbed, that's a small matter. I'm just afraid for the person. The owner had no choice but to count out 10,000 yuan and give it to me. Patting my shoulder, he said solemnly, Young man, go home quickly. Not long after I left, he followed. The lottery shop owner quickly called out to him. Wait a minute. The lottery shop owner hesitated for a moment and then said, He's just a kid. So what if he's a kid? Do I care if he's a kid or not? The man spat out a sentence and left without looking back. After getting the money, I went straight to the bank. I'm already 16 years old. I can get a bank card on my own now. When I reached a deserted alley, the gangster named Lee from the lottery shop suddenly rushed out. He was holding a stick in his hand. With a wicked smile, he slowly approached me. Kid, what a coincidence. Running into you here? What do you want? I frowned. As long as you obediently hand over the money, I won't hit you. What? I looked at him warily and immediately understood. He wants to rob me. Aren't you afraid of going to jail while dealing with him? I scanned my surroundings, looking for a makeshift weapon. I don't know how strong this gangster is. I don't have any kung fu skills. He's holding a stick. I should be careful, the gangster said contemptuously. Jail? I've already been to jail, so what? I suddenly gave a sly smile. A stick suddenly appeared in my hand, pushing off with the balls of my feet, suddenly rushed towards the gangster. The gangster didn't expect me to take the initiative. While he was dazed, he took a heavy blow from my stick. The gangster cried out in pain and quickly reacted, grabbing the stick in his hand and starting to counterattack. Perhaps because he's been on the streets for many years, he was trained through real combat, and although I've been trained for my role at the Chu family, but now, this 16-year-old body of his is too malnourished. My stamina is far inferior to the gangster's. For a moment, we were evenly matched. I felt anxious. I don't have much stamina to drag this out with him. I have to win this quickly. During the fight, I suddenly glimpsed a thin electric wire by the wall. I hardened my heart, found the right opportunity, stepped on the wire with my left foot, and yanked it with my right hand. The wire was snapped by my pull. Without any hesitation, I directly pressed the broken end of the wire against the gangster. At the same time, I quickly retreated, putting distance between myself and the gangster. The wooden stick in the gangster's hand was still raised high, about to hit my head, when suddenly an electric current shot through his body. The gangster only felt his body go numb before he could even curse. His eyes immediately went dull and his body fell with them. I immediately pulled the wire away and threw it aside, collapsing onto the ground, panting heavily. This time, the gangster got a really nasty shock. If it weren't for the low voltage of the wire and the extremely short duration of the shock, this gangster might have lost his life. After my breathing returned to normal, I immediately called the police. I felt my pocket. The money was still there. Coincidentally, the lead officer this time was the same one from before. The officer got out of the car and saw me leaning against the wall. He frowned. Why is it you again? I smiled weakly. Yes, what a coincidence. I'm the one who called the police. He wanted to rob me. The other officers quickly subdued the gangster who had just recovered and was about to get up and run. As soon as they saw his face, the officers all understood. This person is a repeat offender, recently released from prison and still unrepentant. The officer helping me up couldn't help but feel a hint of sympathy in his eyes. This kid is really unlucky. Bullied on his birthday yesterday and robbed today. Both the gangster and I were taken to the police station. After my wounds were bandaged and the relevant statements were taken, I left the police station. The specifics will be decided after the procedures are completed, so there's no need to stay at the station. You can leave after giving your statement. Looking at the bandages on my body, the lead officer offered. Where do you want to go? I'll give you a ride. Usually, boys his age, after going through so much and suffering so many grievances, would have broken down long ago, but to handle it as calmly as I did, without making a fuss, with such clear eyes, was a first for him. The lead officer unconsciously developed a better impression of me. I nodded. Then, thank you very much. Having a police escort is of course the best option. Chuguan, I mumbled aloud. Shocked in my heart, he is an upright man, with outstanding abilities. In just a few short years, he went from an ordinary police officer to the director of the Nancheng Public Security Bureau. The two of us chatted the whole way. The more the officer talked, the more he felt that I was really to his liking. After leaving the bank, I went straight to the digital city. I didn't waste too much time and immediately bought a computer I was used to from my past life, then went straight back to the dorm. I skillfully turned on the computer, registered to open an account with a securities firm, opened the familiar website from my past life, found the newly released stock, the new stock that would skyrocket in the near future. Right now, this stock is still an unremarkable entity, ordinary and nothing special, but in 2 days it will be completely different. I closed the computer, leisurely took out my homework, and started working on it. Chufei's grades aren't very good. In class, he can only barely be considered average. He told the Chu family it was because of his poor health that his grades couldn't improve, although my grades weren't great either. But I always scored higher than Chufei in every exam. But every time we brought our test papers home, they would only praise Chufei and use all sorts of things to reward him for his hard work. As for me, the one who clearly had better grades than Chufei, I was never even asked about it. I stretched my arms. The wounds on my body hadn't healed yet, causing me to wince in pain. I rubbed my aching body. After washing up, I lay my head down and fell asleep. The next morning on the sports field, beautiful young figures walked in groups of 2 or 3, heading towards their classrooms. They were talking and laughing, discussing recent interesting events. On their youthful faces, there weren't too many worries. I stood on the dormitory corridor watching this scene, and for the first time, I felt that school was such a wonderful place. Taking a deep breath of fresh air, I walked towards the classroom. In the classroom, the students were excitedly discussing something. Have you heard? Chuwen called the police again. I heard Liu Xing and his friends are still being held at the police station. He actually dared to call the police. Isn't he afraid of Xiao Xiao's revenge? But have you guys heard? The speaker suddenly became mysterious. He looked around. After making sure that person wasn't around, he dared to continue. I heard that kid Chuwen was saved by Wen Jing. Wen Jing? Everyone immediately gasped. Then everyone fell into deep thought. No wonder he dared to call the police. Wen Jing must have called the police for him. Doesn't that mean Wen Jing has gone up against young Master Chu? Everyone's eyes suddenly lit up with excitement. Young Master Chu and Wen Jing are known as the 2 most untouchable people in school. For such a long time, the 2 of them have always stayed out of each other's way. Now they're finally going head-to-head. It's still early. Wen Jing's gentle voice sounded from behind me. I turned around, a smile unconsciously appearing on my face. Hey. After greeting me, she walked straight past me, heading towards her own classroom. Wen Jing and I are in the same grade, just in different classes. The noisy classroom suddenly fell silent at my appearance. The scene of Wen Jing greeting me in the hallway just now was seen by quite a few people. Everyone was even more certain that I had definitely latched onto Wen Jing's coattails. Before everyone could finish gossiping about this, a figure appeared at the classroom door. Chu Fei looked at the straight-backed figure in front of him, his eyes filled with irrepressible hatred. It wasn't. It was all because of him. He was the one who stole my affection at the Chu family. This morning, he clearly felt that the eldest sister's attitude towards him was no longer as warm as before. He couldn't help but sneer. I was wondering who it was. Turns out it's you bastard. I was walking to my seat when I heard Chu Fei's voice. I turned back and looked at Chu Fei coldly. Seeing that I dared to look him straight in the eye, the anger in his heart immediately flared up. Chu Wen, haven't seen you in 2 days. Your guts have gotten bigger, huh? Are you itching for a beating again? Looking at his furious, hopping mad appearance, I suddenly found it a little funny. What? You cuckoo who stole the magpie's nest? Didn't get your way the other day? Now you want to spend a few days at the police station? Chu Fei immediately flew into a rage. Who are you calling a cuckoo who stole the magpie's nest? Hearing their conversation, everyone gasped. Chuwen must have eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's gall today, to dare speak to the great young Master Chu like that. That's the great young master of the Chu family. In this class, the great young Master Chu is the richest. Even their parents have to smile and flatter the great young Master Chu when they see him. But I looked at him with amusement, an adopted son the Chu family took in from an orphanage, now using dirty tricks to push me, the real young master of the Chu family, out. If you're not a cuckoo who stole the magpie's nest, then what are you? Could it be that after a few years at the Chu family, you really think you're the great young master of the Chu family? As soon as these words were spoken, they immediately caused a huge stir throughout the classroom. Chu Fei's eyes widened even more in disbelief. What is he saying? How dare he? How dare he say these things at school? The classmates in the class erupted. I didn't mishear that, did I? He said Chu Fei was adopted by the Chu family, and he, Chu Wen, is the real young master of the Chu family. There's no way someone would favor an adopted son over their own biological child. There were all sorts of expressions in the classroom. They were buzzing with discussion, guessing about the possibility of this. More people were worried. If I were lying, my intentions would be exposed. I'm probably not that stupid, so that means Chu Fei might really be. They have been sucking up to Chu Fei for so many years. Many of them even bullied me quite a bit, just to please Chu Fei. And now to say, oh my god. The way everyone looked at Chu Fei immediately changed. Quite a few people immediately took out their phones to record the tense scene between the two. Some even started live streaming directly. Chu Fei, after his shock, looked at the phones pointed at him and quickly reacted. He feigned a look of disbelief and hurt and looked at me. What are you saying, you poor wretch? You want to impersonate me, the young master of the Chu family? You can't use this method to get rich. As soon as he said this, the tide of public opinion and curses immediately turned towards me. Haha. I think he's just gone crazy trying to get rich, trying to frame young Master Chu. Very quickly, on the internet, a news story about a vain student slandering the young master of the Chu family with the intent to extort money shot to the top of the search rankings, accompanied by a picture of the two of us. Netizens couldn't immediately tell who was telling the truth and who was lying. I was so angry I almost laughed. This Chu Fei has really gotten used to bullying me, thinking I'm still the same as before, that he can slander me as he pleases, without me daring to fight back, afraid of upsetting the Chu family. Since you've said that, how about we call the police? The police can investigate and find out which year and which day you were adopted by the Chu family from the orphanage. Chu Fei's face turned pale, his fists clenched tightly, so hard that his knuckles turned white. Suddenly, a glint flashed in his eyes, as if he had thought of something terrifying. Chu Wen, it turns out that for your own vanity, you even bribed the police. How despicable. As soon as he said this, everyone erupted again. I can't believe this Chu Wen would do something like that. Hearing everyone's discussions, a triumphant smile appeared on Chu Fei's lips. He only said, I bribed the police. But didn't specify what I bribed them for. All of this was fabricated by these foolish classmates. By saying this, he could make the Chu family guess that the surveillance videos they watched the other day might have been tampered with by the police officer I bribed. The Chu family has always been prone to overthinking. Chu Fei is very skilled at this. While he was feeling smug, he didn't notice a beautiful figure standing at the classroom door. Chu Junlan had waited all morning at the dormitory entrance yesterday, but didn't see any sign of me, and my phone was unreachable. Today, she deliberately came to the classroom to find me. She wanted to know the truth of the matter. She wanted to know if Chu Fei really hit me, and whether the surveillance videos her parents watched were real or not. Before entering the classroom, she heard the argument inside. This time, she didn't rush in to help Chu Fei, but stood quietly outside the classroom, listening to their conversation for a while. Chu Junlan heard everything. She widened her eyes in disbelief. What was Chu Fei saying? He was actually at school, denying Chu Wen's identity as the young master of the Chu family. Although their parents had indeed announced to the public that Chu Fei was the biological son of the Chu family. But they never said Chu Wen wasn't their son. At that time, their parents told Chu Wen not to say at school that he was a son of the Chu family in order to protect Chu Fei. But why did this Chu Fei take the initiative in front of outsiders to deny the fact that Chu Wen is the young master of the Chu family who gave him the guts to do that? Chu Junlan couldn't bear it any longer. She walked straight into the classroom. Her appearance instantly silenced the noisy classroom. As soon as he saw Chu Junlan, Chu Fei's heart tightened. She couldn't have heard what I just said, right? She probably didn't hear it. If she had heard him and Chu Wen clashing, she would have definitely rushed in to protect him immediately, Chu Fei thought to himself, and the heart that was in his throat finally settled down. Before Chu Junlan could say anything, Chu Fei hurriedly stepped in front of Chu Junlan. He exclaimed happily, "Why are you here, sister?" They didn't expect that for Chu Fei's sake. She would personally come to the school, seeing everyone's astonished and admiring gazes. Chu Fei became even more smug. He deliberately moved closer to Chu Junlan and said affectionately, "Eldest sister, you're so busy. How do you have time to come visit me at school?" After saying that, Chu Fei pretended to be strong and said, "Don't worry, eldest sister. My health is much better now. I'm fine. Eldest sister, you don't need to worry about me." Indeed, seeing his familiar and intimate behavior, everyone cast admiring gazes upon him. At the same time, everyone looked at me as if they were watching a good show. He actually dared to dream of framing the great young master of the Chu family. Now the eldest young miss of the Chu family has come in person. Let's see how he gets his face slapped. Everyone had the expression of watching a good show. Some even pointed their live stream cameras directly at us. I didn't want to pay attention to these boring people. I walked straight to my seat, took out my homework, and focused on doing it. 2 years is too long. I want to graduate as soon as possible, to escape the Chu family early. The faces of these people, I don't want to see them for another second. Chu Junlan frowned. She gave Chu Fei a cold glance, not like she usually would, immediately asking about Chu Fei with concern, but took a step back without a trace. Chu Fei was immersed in everyone's flattery, and didn't notice Chu Junlan's unusual behavior. He was like a proud peacock, accepting everyone's fawning, and occasionally pretending to be polite with everyone, saying a few humble words. Because of Chu Junlan's appearance, everyone immediately forgot what I had said earlier. They swarmed around the two of them, wanting to fight for a chance to be seen by Chu Junlan. This was a rare opportunity, if they could be, looked upon favorably by the eldest young miss of the Chu family here. They would have face at home and with their friends, then they too would become newly valued members of their families. The family's resources can also be given more to them. Many of them are not the only child in their families. There's competition among their siblings. Cannot bring more benefits to the clan. Their status in the family will naturally be higher. Chu Fei clearly noticed the impatience in Chu Junlan's eyes. He quickly stood in front of Chu Junlan. "What are you guys doing? Don't scare my big sister." Seeing this, the crowd could only try to curry favor with Chu Fei again, hoping he would give them a chance to get close to Chu Junlan. This was exactly what Chu Fei wanted. He loved it when others acted so fawningly towards him. Amidst the noise and excitement, another beautiful figure suddenly appeared at the classroom door. Her appearance directly caused the whole classroom to erupt. Appearing with her were many other students. They surrounded the classroom, either to watch the excitement or because they had followed that beautiful figure here. Tu Bingyu, the #1 school beauty, she's here too. I heard she's also the fiancée of the young master of the Chu family, the only future daughter-in-law of the Chu family. Chu Junlan heard these whispers and frowned slightly. The only daughter-in-law of the Chu family? Moreover, they thought, this Tu Bingyu was Chu Fei's fiancée. This Tu Bingyu indeed had a childhood engagement with the Chu family. Over 10 years ago, the Chu corporation fell into a crisis. At that time, it was the Tu family who took the initiative, helping the Chu family out. Father was grateful for the Tu family's great kindness, so he promised to marry me, who was only a few months old at the time, to the yet unborn Tu Bingyu. Over the years, because I wasn't valued at home, it also affected Tu Bingyu. This fiancé was also ignored by them. But one thing is certain, the one engaged to Tu Bingyu is Chu Wen, not Chu Fei. Chu Fei saw the surprised looks from everyone, and turned his head to find Tu Bingyu standing at the door like a green lotus. A radiant smile immediately bloomed on his face. "Why are you here?" he greeted her enthusiastically while happily moving forward to welcome her. Tu Bingyu looked at Chu Fei's bright smile, and her beautiful face blushed. She shyly glanced at Chu Junlan, then said to Chu Fei with a blush, "I heard Big Sister was here, so I came to take a look." Chu Fei walked through the crowd, skillfully took to Bingyu's small hand, and said gently, "Bingyu, come here. I'll take you to meet my big sister." Looking at their tightly clasped hands, Chu Junlan's brows knitted tightly. What is this? Tu Bingyu is clearly Chu Wen's fiancé. Chu Wen is still here, yet they can be so intimate. Chu Junlan turned her head to look at me, only to see me still focused, head down, doing my work. In my eyes, there was only the test paper on the desk, as if all the disputes outside had nothing to do with me. Being siblings for so many years, Chu Junlan, this was the first time she had looked at me so seriously. He's grown up so much, it's just that his cheeks are too thin. He has indeed suffered a lot of grievances in the Chu family. Chu Fei led Tu Bingyu to stand before Chu Junlan. Chu Fei smiled and introduced to Chu Junlan. "Big sister, this is my girlfriend, Tu Bingyu." "Girlfriend?" Chu Junlan frowned. She looked at Tu Bingyu and asked, "Miss Tu, you are Chu Fei's girlfriend?" Tu Bingyu nodded shyly. Her voice was indescribably soft. "Big sister, my name is Tu Bingyu. I am the fiancé of the young master of the Chu family. My father and your father arranged our engagement when we were young, you remember?" Chu Junlan's frown deepened. If she already knew she had a childhood engagement with the young master of the Chu family, then she should know which young master she is actually engaged to. Chu Fei looked at Chu Junlan seriously and said, "Big sister, I like Bingyu. When I graduate, I will marry her." Hearing Chu Fei's firm promise, Tu Bingyu's face turned even redder. Chu Fei's words immediately caused a loud cheer to erupt in the classroom. Hearing the continuous exaggerated shouts, looking at their tightly clasped hands, a haze of unease unconsciously rose in Chu Junlan's heart. Chu Junlan frowned and asked Tu Bingyu, "Don't you know who you're engaged to?" The shy expression on Tu Bingyu's face stiffened. She was a little surprised and looked up at Chu Junlan. What does this big sister mean? Of course she knew who she was engaged to. But didn't young Master Chu say that he was the most beloved young master of the Chu family? What she had observed over the years was indeed true. She had already asked. When the engagement was arranged, it only said that she was engaged to the young master of the Chu family. It didn't specify which young master. The Chu family dotes on Chu Fei so much, as long as Chu Fei said he liked her, the Chu family would definitely change the engagement to Chu Fei. Why is Big Sister asking this now? Chu Fei was also startled by Chu Junlan's sudden question. He had just intentionally told Big Sister that he liked Bingyu and wanted to marry her in the future, precisely so the Chu family would change the engagement to him. But looking at the gossiping crowd around them, Chu Fei quickly spoke first. "Big sister, Bingyu and I are truly in love." Chu Fei's implication was very clear. He meant that he liked Bingyu and wanted the engagement with Bingyu to be changed to him. But this time, Chu Junlan didn't immediately concede and agree with him. She continued to speak to Tu Bingyu. "Miss Tu, you should know that. The person engaged to you is the young master of the Chu family, Chu Wen. Yet now you've become the girlfriend of Chu Wen's younger brother, Chu Fei. Do you have any regard for the dignity of our Chu family? And you too, Chu Fei." Chu Junlan turned to Chu Fei, her voice still a bit cold. "Chu Wen is the rightful young master of the Chu family, the son our mother carried for 10 months, my biological brother and your older brother. Since when did he become a poor wretch?" As Chu Junlan spoke, her tone couldn't help but carry a blazing anger. "Although she truly didn't like me before, I am her biological brother, the young master of the Chu family. This is an unchangeable blood relationship, a truth that no one can change. It's one thing that she doesn't like me, but she cannot tolerate me being bullied at school. This isn't just a slap in her face, but also a slap in the face of the Chu family. It's also the reason why after learning I was bullied, she insisted on coming to find me and ask for clarification." Chu Junlan looked at Chu Fei with a stunned expression, slightly suppressing her anger, and then continued. "Chu Fei, without Chu Wen's consent, you took your older brother's fiancée for yourself. Do you think that's reasonable?" As soon as Chu Junlan finished speaking, there was a dead silence inside and outside the classroom. Everyone stared at them, stunned. What did she just say? She said Chu Wen is the eldest young master of the Chu family, the #1 school beauty, Tu Bingyu, is Chu Wen's fiancé, then Chu Fei is actually the adopted son of the Chu family. Everything Chu Wen said was true. My God, how can this be? After a brief moment of silence, everyone exploded. Until now, Chu Fei had always presented himself as the only young master of the Chu family and as the fiancé of the #1 school beauty, Tu Bingyu. Because of these two identities, he had always been arrogant and lawless at school. But now they were being told that he was a fake. The only young master of a wealthy family was a fake, and the status of the school beauty's fiancé was also a fake. At school, Chu Fei and I were complete opposites. Chu Fei was the richest young master in the entire school, while I was the poorest wretch in the entire school. They had trampled and oppressed me many times before. Chu Fei and Tu Bingyu were completely stunned by Chu Junlan's words. They never would have expected that she would have this attitude. Didn't she always dote on him the most? Why? Why did she suddenly speak up for that bastard? And in front of so many people, too. How could he hold his head up in this school, in this class, after this? The whole family had just finished breakfast. As Chu Wen was getting ready to go out, Chu Ruohan took out her phone and was immediately drawn to a trending topic that popped up. She unconsciously clicked on it. It was the live stream from Chu Fei's school. Seeing the screen filled with insults directed at Chu Fei, Chu Ruohan's eyes widened in shock. She unconsciously cried out, "What are they doing? What's wrong?" Chu Shiyue leaned close to Chu Ruohan, looking at her phone screen. When she saw the content on the screen, Chu Shiyue couldn't help but let out a gasp of surprise. Chu Guoan frowned. Isn't it just some nonsense news? Chu Ruohan quickly turned the phone screen towards Chu Guoan and Liu Ru. The image from the live stream immediately appeared before their eyes, accompanied by a flood of curses. What's going on? What are they doing? Chu Guoan was furious. Why are they treating Chu Fei like this? What on earth did Chu Fei do to them? Liu Ru's eyes immediately turned red. It was unclear if it was from anger or from feeling wronged on Chu Fei's behalf. Chu Shiyue immediately took out her phone and joined the live stream. Her fingers flew across the screen, and she immediately started to retort. Don't you people have anything better to do? Why are you targeting him? In your eyes, is the Chu family easy to provoke? The moment Chu Shiyue's words appeared, they immediately triggered a fierce reaction from the netizens. The person above just joined, right? If you don't know what's going on, I suggest you watch the replay. Thank you. Seeing the two words scum, Chu Shiyue immediately flew into a rage. Who are you calling scum? He is such a good and gentle boy. How can you have the heart to treat him like this? Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning? Chu Shiyue's fingers didn't stop, almost moving in a blur. Do you know who you're defending? He's a complete liar. Only idiots like you would believe their demonic words. Chu Shiyue had clearly lost her composure. She even started speaking recklessly. At this time, Chu Junlan was no longer by Chu Wen's side. Chu Shiyue didn't see Chu Junlan and just thought that I was bullying Chu Fei at school. Seeing her brainless defense, everyone in the livestream immediately exploded. Even the other members of the Chu family frowned when they saw these words. Belittling a family member like this in front of outsiders, this is just disgracing the Chu family. The Chu family members didn't immediately scold her, but the people in the livestream wouldn't let her off so easily. Those words a complete liar used to describe, Chu Fei couldn't be more fitting. That's right, Chu Wen is clearly the young master of the Chu family, yet he claimed the real young master was a poor wretch, and deliberately impersonated the young master of the Chu family to swindle money. Luckily, the eldest young lady of the Chu family came, otherwise we would have all been fooled by him. Seeing these words, the members of the Chu family looked at each other. What's going on? Why don't they understand what people are saying? What's this about denying the identity of the real young master of the Chu family? Why would their Chu Fei do such a thing? At first, they only told Chu Wen not to mention his status as the young master of the Chu family at school, so that Chu Fei wouldn't feel insecure. But to publicly deny it, that's a different matter entirely. They finally realized that something was not right. Chu Ruohan quickly opened the live stream again. This live stream room has a real-time recording function. Fortunately, with this function, she could watch the replay. The members of the Chu family held their breath, staring intently at the phone on the table. On that small screen, every scene that had just happened in the classroom immediately appeared on the screen. When they saw me publicly say that Chu Fei was the adopted son of the Chu family, all the members of the Chu family were extremely angry. They told me not to say I was the young master of the Chu family at school, precisely to protect Chu Fei, so he wouldn't feel insecure. But what was Chu Wen doing? He directly and publicly said that Chu Fei was the adopted son of the Chu family. Just as they were getting angry, something shocking happened. Chu Fei. Chu Fei actually said Chu Wen was a poor wretch, that he was trying to swindle money, and only claimed to be the young master of the Chu family out of vanity. The members of the Chu family looked at each other. Chu Fei's appearance just now was completely different from the Chu Fei they knew. If they didn't know this was a live stream, the Chu family really wouldn't dare to believe it. Chu Guan and Liu Ru couldn't help but recall the surveillance video they had watched at the police station. Could it be that Chu Fei really was bullying Chu Wen at school? Chu Junlan wasn't looking at the phone. She didn't know what had happened in the live stream. I was still doing my homework, letting Chu Junlan come to my side. I didn't even look up. Chu Junlan took a deep breath and said gently, Chu-wen, what exactly happened? I waited for you all morning yesterday. Where did you go? Before, they only knew that the Chu family doted on Chu Fei, even doted on him excessively. Just now they learned that I am the real young master of the Chu family, but they didn't think I was loved by the Chu family to any great extent. After all, my poverty has always been clear for all to see. Normally, he doesn't even dare to order a single dish when eating. The Chu family is such a big, wealthy family, yet they let the young master of the house live like this, which is enough to show how unloved I am. But now, the eldest young lady of the Chu family is so busy, such an outstanding person, saying that she waited in front of his dorm all morning yesterday. Does that mean that in her heart, Chu-wen is very important? I knew what she was asking, but I had no intention of paying her any mind. I don't want to waste time on meaningless people. Chu Junlun looked at me in surprise. Yesterday I hung up on her again and again, and today I'm acting as if I don't see her. I have absolutely no intention of paying attention to her. Chu Junlan clearly felt that I had changed, become different. Ever since that Saturday, after I said I wanted a birthday cake, I started to change. Chu Junlan wasn't angry either. She continued, Chu Wen, come out for a moment. Let's talk somewhere else. Family scandals shouldn't be aired in public. After all, there are many nosy people here, and so many phones are pointed at them. Chu Fei's actions just now were already enough to disgrace the Chu family. Seeing that Chu Junlan had no intention of giving up, I finally put down my pen and looked up. I frowned slightly at Chu Junlan, eldest young lady of the Chu family. I believe you have already investigated the truth. You didn't believe me, so why are you asking me now? If I tell you, will you believe me? Ever since they adopted Chu Fei, have they ever believed a word I've said? Chu Junlan was stunned. He called her the eldest young lady of the Chu family. He didn't call her big sister anymore. Why would you? But thinking back, it seemed that before it was true that no one in the family believed his words. I said impatiently, we have to go to class. If you have no other business, then please don't bother us anymore. Chu Junlan looked embarrassed. Being dismissed in front of everyone by her unfavored younger brother made her lose some face. These events happened too quickly. Tu Bingyu was the first to react. She pulled on Chu Fei's sleeve. Chu Fei had been watching the two of them. Seeing this opportunity, he quickly walked a few steps to Chu Junlan's side. He frowned and reproached me. Brother, how can you talk to Big Sister like that? Big Sister kindly wanted to show you some concern. Even if you don't like Big Sister, you can't make her lose face in front of so many people like this. I frowned. It's this hypocritical way of talking again. Moral kidnapping. Although I truly dislike everyone in the Chu family, including Chu Junlan, for him to say it out loud like that clearly changes the nature of it. Chu Fei laughed inwardly. So what if Chu Wen's identity was exposed? With his intelligence and wit, he could still make him the target of everyone's criticism. The only young master acknowledged by the Chu family can only be him. I finally put down my pen, looked seriously at Chu Fei and said, You're right. I don't like you guys, but the one who wants to make her lose face is you. As soon as these words were spoken, both Chu Fei and Chu Junlan were stunned. Chu Fei immediately panicked. When did I ever want to make Big Sister lose face? She's the big sister I respect the most. How could I bear to let her lose face? Heh, he's about to make me laugh. The most respected big sister? Of course. Chu Fei's face was full of pride, and he even snuck a glance at Chu Junlan. If you respect her so much, why would you intentionally, in front of so many people, reveal her embarrassing truth to make her lose even more face? I retorted without any courtesy. This Chu Fei still wants to, just like before, use this so-called morality to pressure me. I didn't. Chu Fei wanted to explain something, but everyone's critical gazes had already turned towards him. Including Chu Junlan, they had long since realized that there was something wrong with Chu Fei's words. It's just that they didn't expect a grown man to use such a hypocritical way of speaking. After these blunt words of mine, they finally successfully realized it. I was extremely annoyed by their harassment. Wasting time on these things is a disrespect to one's own life. During the standoff, a stout figure appeared at the door. Move aside, move aside. The stout figure squeezed through the dense crowd at the classroom door and came to my side. He looked at me and asked, Are you Chu Wen? I turned my head to look at him doubtfully. I had never met him before, but still answered, Yes, I am. Principal Lee nodded. His voice unconsciously softened. I am the new principal. I believe you. Don't be afraid. Since you study at our school, the teachers and I will protect you. Hearing this, I was a little surprised. The new principal? Director Yang's speed is really fast. Previously, after I was bullied and reported it to the police, Director Yang only said he would report this to the Education Bureau, but I didn't expect that after only 2 days, the new principal has already taken office. The previous principal was weak and useless. It's not that he didn't know I was being bullied, but because he was afraid of the Chu family's power, he never dared to speak up. This Principal Lai seems not bad. After Principal Lee finished speaking, he turned to Chu Junlan again, with a serious expression. Miss Chu, this is a school, a place for students to learn. Please do not disturb the students' studies. Chu Junlan was also very surprised. This school's principal has changed again? Is it because of Chu Wen? Could it be that Chu Fei bullying Chu Wen is true? Otherwise, how could they dismiss the principal so quickly? Junlan couldn't help but have a few more suspicions in her heart. She also knew she shouldn't be causing too much of a disturbance here. She gave an apologetic smile. Principal Lee, you'll leave right away. Chu Fei anxiously wanted to say something more, but Chu Junlan had already spoken. He couldn't say anything more. Before leaving, Chu Junlan lowered her voice to me. He'll come find you tonight. I didn't pay any attention to her. Chu Junlan could only leave awkwardly. After Chu Junlan left, Principal Lee immediately turned towards the phone still held high and shouted, "What are you all doing? This is a school, a place to gain knowledge, not your live streaming room." The students reluctantly put their phones away. Just then, the school bell for class rang. A figure in white walked into the classroom as the bell rang, heading straight for the teacher's podium. After Principal Lee gestured for silence with both hands, he introduced the woman in white, who was standing beside him, smiling at them. "This is your new head teacher, Yan Rong. You can call her Teacher Yan." As soon as he finished speaking, an unprecedentedly loud round of applause erupted from everyone. They had a new head teacher. Their previous head teacher was a stubborn old man who only cared about academic performance and was a genuine snob. They had heard yesterday that the old man had been dismissed by the school and had his teaching license revoked for life. Thinking back, it was probably because of my long-term bullying case. While everyone was happy, only Chu Fei's eyes were indescribably gloomy. He stared at me with hatred, a vicious glint flashing in his eyes. "Chu Wen, sooner or later, there will come a day when you'll regret what you've done today." For the entire morning, he had completely lost face. The day passed very quickly. During the break, Chu Wen used all the money on his card to buy the stocks he had looked at yesterday. If nothing unexpected happens by tomorrow, my balance could increase several dozen times. The strange thing was, Chu Fei was unusually quiet today. He didn't come looking for trouble with me, nor did he mock or ridicule me as usual. During the last class, after school was dismissed, Chu Fei suddenly came up to me. He changed his usual disdainful and contemptuous expression. He smiled at me. "Older brother, tomorrow is my birthday. Dad has already booked the banquet hall at Tianfu Hotel. You must come tomorrow night." I raised an eyebrow. So this is what he was waiting for. In my past life, Chu Guan had booked the best hotel in Nancheng for Chu Fei to hold his birthday party. At that time, Chu Fei, contrary to his usual behavior, invited me to attend. I was overjoyed. I thought I could finally see the light of day, but I didn't have any formal wear, only a few tattered clothes I had worn for years. Just as I was feeling distressed, Chu Fei suddenly came to my room and gave me an expensive suit. Chu Fei said it was a gift for me, a belated birthday present for my birthday a few days ago. Although I was suspicious, I was too eager to appear in front of everyone, too eager to escape the days of being bullied. At Chu Fei's birthday party the next day, just as I, Chu Yin, was about to go on stage to take a photo with the Chu family, Chu Fei suddenly put on a pained expression and disappointedly accused me of stealing his clothes. It wasn't until much later that I learned that Chu Fei felt they were grown up and my identity would sooner or later be known to outsiders. So he took advantage of the largest crowd to completely trample and crush my dignity under his feet. I took a deep breath and suddenly broke into a smile. I replied, "Okay, I will definitely be there on time tomorrow night." Receiving my firm answer, the smile on Chu Fei's face grew wider. Then it settled. "Oh, right," Chu Fei said as if he suddenly remembered something. "You probably don't have a decent suit, do you?" "Ha ha," I sneered inwardly, but these clumsy tricks of Chu Fei, his way of thinking still hasn't changed. I feigned disappointment and said, "No. Forget a suit. I don't even have a single decent set of clothes." The smile on Chu Fei's face was almost irrepressible. "I have lots of suits. I'll bring you one tomorrow." Chu Fei couldn't hide his smugness. "After tomorrow, everyone in the world will know what a thief that Chu Wen is. By then, the noisy drama from today will also be quickly covered up. Perhaps others will even think that everything that happened today was orchestrated by Chu Wen. After all, he's someone who even steals clothes." I looked at his smug expression and suddenly wanted to tease him a bit. "You're kind enough to give me clothes?" Chu Fei's expression stiffened. After a moment, he said, a bit unnaturally, "Everyone found out today that you are a member of the Chu family. I don't want you to disgrace the Chu family." Tisk tisk, the way he said that, it was as if he, Chu Fei, was the real young master of the Chu family, while I was like some random servant of the Chu family. I chuckled and said casually, "Then thank you, my good little brother." In the evening, I had just finished dinner and returned to the dorm when Chu Junlan arrived. She stood at the door of the dorm room, frowning as she looked at the state of the room. "This is your dorm room? Why is there nothing here? It's better than the Chu family home anyway." I was telling the truth. Chu Junlan was stunned. It's true that this place, though simple, was much better than the small, cramped storage room that I lived in at the Chu family home. It was indeed much better. "What do you want? Spit it out, I have to study," I said impatiently. Seeing my attitude, Chu Junlan couldn't help but feel upset. But thinking about how she had indeed owed me a lot all this time, Chu Junlan didn't beat around the bush. She got straight to the point. "Chu Wen, were you really bullied by Chu Fei at school?" I raised an eyebrow. "Miss Chu, are you concerned about me?" Chu Junlan frowned. "I am your eldest sister. Don't keep calling me Miss Chu over and over again." "Heh heh," I laughed coldly. "Didn't you say you don't have a younger brother like me? Told me not to call you eldest sister anymore. I didn't invite her in." I leaned back on the sofa by myself. Seeing me so completely different from usual, Chu Junlan's delicate eyebrows furrowed tightly. "Chu Wen, why have you suddenly changed so much?" Chu Junlan finally asked. "Changed?" I finally looked at her. "Changed into what?" "Changed to the point where I'm no longer like before, letting Chu Fei slander and bully me, letting all of you defame and humiliate me?" Chu Junlan was choked into silence again, stunned. After a long while, Chu Junlan asked again. "Chu Wen, Chu Fei really did bully you at school, right? Mom said they watched the surveillance footage, but Chu Fei said you bribed the police." Are you mocking me? Someone with no power and no influence who doesn't even have enough to eat. What do you think I would use to bribe the police, Miss Chu? With that, I suddenly took off my shirt, revealing the horrific scars on my body. Chu Junlan gasped. She couldn't help but cover her mouth, nearly screaming. How? How did this happen? I moved closer, staring into Chu Junlan's eyes. I said word by word, eldest sister. I'll call you that one last time. Eldest sister, take a good look. What are these things on my body? These scars, ever since the Chu family adopted Chu Fei. He has inflicted them on me, little by little. Chu Junlan's eyes were filled with tears. Her hands trembled uncontrollably. How could Chu Wen have so many scars on his body? Those wounds were a mix of old and new, some big, some small, densely packed. His whole body was covered in wounds like these. She looked up at me in disbelief. Why didn't you tell me? Regardless of whether Chu Fei did this or not. With so many wounds, how did he get through it? My smile became even more arrogant. Didn't I tell you people? How many times have I told you since we were young? But did any of you believe me? But Chu Fei said it was from fighting with others at school. Fighting with whom? I cut her off directly. Who did I fight with at school? If you had just bothered to investigate a little at school, you would have found out. But did you investigate? You only believe that green tea bitch Chu Fei. As long as he pretends to be pitiful, you believe whatever he says. You never took me seriously, never cared, never once considered me family. By the end, I was practically roaring. Chu Wen had long told himself that they were not worthy. He didn't care for this so-called kinship. But after all, they were his biological parents, his biological sister. When truly faced with them, Chu Wen still couldn't control his feelings of grievance and indignation. Chu Junlan stared at him blankly. She had truly never thought about these things before. Chu Fei's health was poor. Every time, it was Chu Wen who angered Chu Fei, causing him to be hospitalized. They indeed had a huge prejudice against Chu Wen. They also always thought Chu Wen was a wild, disobedient, and uncontrollable child. They never thought he was wronged. Tears streamed down from Chu Junlan's eyes. I'm sorry, Chu Wen. I'm sorry, it's all because of our negligence that you had to suffer like this. Hearing this, Chu Wen couldn't help his eyes turning red. This apology, he had fantasized about it countless times. He had waited too long, for too long, so long that his heart had completely died. Chu Junlan suddenly remembered something. She grabbed Chu Wen's hand. Chu Wen, you have so many injuries. Where did you get the money to go to the hospital? Ever since they adopted Chu Fei, they hadn't given him any pocket money. Going to the hospital costs money. He had so many scars on his body. The treatment alone would be a huge expense. Although this amount was nothing to them, for Chu Wen, who had absolutely no support from his family, it was an extremely large expense. Chu Wen suppressed his emotions. He coldly shook her hand off, picked up his clothes from the floor, and put them on. What hospital? Where would I get the money to go to a hospital? I just patched myself up haphazardly. He was telling the truth. The costs at the hospital were not small. He had been bullied since he was a child. At first, he still had some money to go to the hospital for some bandaging. Later, when the money ran out, he could only patch himself up to get it over with. This was also the reason why these wounds of his all left scars. There were places on his back he couldn't reach to bandage, so he could only wrap a cloth around it haphazardly. Hearing this, the tears in Chu Junlan's eyes flowed even more freely. Oh my god, how could this be? Patching himself up haphazardly, he had no medicine, no clean medical supplies. How could he possibly bandage himself? Moreover, he said, ever since they adopted Chu Fei, he had been bullied. In other words, when he was still a child, an 8 or 9-year-old boy, an age when many kids are still acting spoiled in their mother's arms, he had to bandage these dense wounds all by himself. Chu Junlan didn't dare to imagine when he was being bullied, and his family didn't believe him, when he was using his small hands to bandage his wounds, how heartbroken and desperate he must have been. Chu Junlan sobbed silently. Her heart felt like it was being squeezed by a hand, aching. She could only clutch her chest, repeatedly saying to him, Chu Wen, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Chu Wen sat back down on the sofa, took a sip of water to soothe his dry throat. He acted as if he didn't see Chu Junlan's tearful apology. This apology was something he wouldn't have dared to dream of before, but now he no longer needed it. Deep affection that arrives late is cheaper than dirt, so is a kind heart, Chu Wen said coldly. Miss Chu, are you done asking what you wanted to ask? If there's nothing else, then please don't bother me anymore. Chu Junlan was stunned. Miss Chu, he no longer acknowledged her. Chu Junlan choked up. Chu Wen. She wanted to say more, but Chu Wen didn't want to waste any more time. He stood up directly and slammed the door shut. Chu Junlan was so startled she stumbled backward, which was how she narrowly avoided getting hit in the nose. Chu Junlan knocked on the door. Chu Wen had suffered so much injustice. She wanted to talk more to comfort him. Chu Wen said impatiently, Don't force me to call security. Chu Junlan's hand, which was knocking on the door, froze. You don't want to see me that badly? I'm your eldest sister. But the only response she got was silence. Chu Wen had already taken out his books and entered a state of frantic studying. He had the memories of his past life. His mind was mature, his ability to grasp all kinds of knowledge was much stronger than that of a normal 16-year-old. Studying would also be much easier. Besides these things, he had learned them once in his past life. Now, he was just filling in the knowledge he had missed in his previous life. Chu Junlan had no other choice but to turn and leave. As soon as Chu Junlan got home, she saw Chu Fei crying to everyone. Chu Fei's eyes were red. He lowered his head slightly, his expression full of remorse, saying, "I'm sorry. Dad, Mom, second sister, third sister, it's all my fault. It's because I was too afraid of losing you all that I spoke carelessly at school. I didn't mean it. I really didn't mean it." Chu Guan's face was as cold as ice. He tried not to look at Chu Fei's aggrieved expression. "Chu Fei, I know you feel insecure, but Chu Wen is my Chu Guan's son. That is an unchangeable fact. You can't collude with outsiders at school to bully him. Do you know where that leaves the Chu family's dignity?" Hearing his somewhat reproachful words, everyone instinctively wanted to speak up and plead for Chu Fei. But as soon as they thought of the live stream they watched today, thought of Chu Fei's expression when he said Chu Wen was trying to extort money, calling him a destitute poor devil, everyone fell silent again. Chu Junlan stood in the corner by the door, an unspeakable coldness in her eyes. The horrific scars on Chu Wen's body were still vivid in her mind. She didn't immediately rush forward to criticize Chu Fei. She wanted to see what Chu Fei would say. Chu Fei secretly clenched his fists. Dad was scolding him again because of Chu Wen. It's all because of that bastard Chu Wen. Chu Fei suppressed the anger in his heart. The tears welling up in his eyes immediately fell. With a thud, Chu Fei knelt straight on the ground. "Dad, I was wrong. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have been afraid of losing you all. I'll leave right now. You all go bring older brother back. As long as I leave, older brother will definitely come back." As he spoke, Chu Fei stood up and prepared to walk out. After taking just 2 steps, he suddenly clutched his chest and convulsed in pain. This frightened everyone. Chu Junlan subconsciously clenched her fists, nearly unable to stop herself from rushing up to help him. But thinking back to the wounds on Chu Wen's body, Chu Junlan held herself back. The other members of the Chu family, however, couldn't hold back. Chu Guan no longer had the heart to scold him. He rushed to Chu Fei's side and swiftly caught him. Chu Guan was frantic. Everyone in the Chu family was frantic. They no longer had the mind to think about Chu Wen's matters. They all hurriedly gathered around Chu Fei. "Chu Fei, don't scare Mom. No one said they wanted you to leave." Liu Ru was so worried that tears immediately welled up in her eyes. "Chu Fei, don't worry. It's all because Chu Wen deliberately provoked you that you said those things you shouldn't have. Don't worry. We don't blame you anymore," Chu Shiyue said worriedly while patting Chu Fei's back. Vualalong Nai. Hearing this, although the others didn't quite agree, no one spoke up to refute it. Chu Guan hurriedly shouted, "Quick, take him to the hospital." Hearing this, Chu Fei quickly grabbed Chu Guan's hand. He shook his head with difficulty. "I don't want to go to the hospital." Chu Guan couldn't care about anything else. "Chu Fei?" He lowered his voice, comforting him gently. Chu Fei lifted his tear-stained face, pleading, "Dad, I don't want to go to the hospital. The hospital is so cold. I don't want to go. I'll be fine after some sleep." Tomorrow was his birthday party. How could he go to the hospital now? What if those quack doctors made him stay in the hospital? Seeing Chu Fei like this, Liu Ru's heart had long been aching unbearably. After all, this was the child she had doted on for so long. Even if he made a mistake, how could she bear to truly scold him? She hugged Chu Fei tightly. Her voice was so gentle that Chu Wen wouldn't have dared to dream of it. "Chu Fei, don't be afraid. We will all be by your side." Chu Fei buried his face in Liu Ru's embrace, and the corners of his mouth slowly curled into a smile. Everyone in the Chu family was in front of him, so they couldn't see this smile of his. But from Chu Junlan's angle, she could see it clearly. Chu Junlan gasped. She quickly covered her mouth to stop herself from crying out in shock. The smile that Chu Fei revealed held a hint of evil within its smugness. There was no trace of weakness or pain anymore. He was pretending again. Chu Fei refused to go to the hospital no matter what. With no other choice, the whole family could only coax him, but he said he was tired and wanted to sleep. After seeing Chu Fei fall asleep, the members of the Chu family finally went outside. "Eldest sister, why are you just getting back?" "Where did you go?" Chu Shiyue asked. Such a big thing happened to Chu Fei at school. No matter how busy they were, everyone in the Chu family had come back. Eldest sister used to be like that too, but today, eldest sister was a bit unusual. Chu Junlan turned her head to look at them. "I went to see Chu Wen." The moment these words were spoken, everyone froze. "Why did you go see him again? What's there to see about him?" Chu Shiyue muttered under her breath, her expression dissatisfied. Eldest sister had just gone to see him during the day, and now she went again at night. Chu Shiyue really didn't understand. Chu Ruohan came downstairs, asking with a worried expression, "Chu Wen, how is he? Is he getting used to being at school?" Chu Guan and Liu Ru sat down on the sofa in silence. The atmosphere in the living room was a bit suffocating. Towards Chu Wen, their feelings were very complicated, including guilt, but they still couldn't escape the disgust they had felt for many years. Thinking of the many wounds all over Chu Wen's body, Chu Junlan's eyes filled with tears again. Seeing her like this, Liu Ru also became flustered. "What's wrong? Chu Wen, is he not doing well at school?" After a long moment, Chu Junlan said, "I saw that his body is covered in wounds." The moment these words were spoken, everyone was shocked. "He really has wounds on his body?" Liu Ru asked in astonishment. Actually, Chu Fei said he bribed the police. Subconsciously, everyone in the Chu family already believed it. After all, what Chu Wen had done before. Hearing his questioning words, the tears in Chu Junlin's eyes couldn't help but fall. Now she finally understood why Chu Wen would rather stay in the dorm than live at home. In this house, no one believed him. Even though he was covered in injuries, even though he had lived so miserably since he was a child, no one believed him. As long as Chu Fei said he was bad, then everyone in the Chu family would unhesitatingly assume he was the bad guy. At this moment, Chu Junlan finally felt Chu Wen's despair, that hopeless feeling of trying your best, yet no one believes you. Chu Junlan didn't dare to imagine, over all these years, how on earth did he get through it? He was still so young. No wonder he became so timid and shy. He had so many injuries they didn't know at all. Because he didn't dare, he was afraid of being misunderstood and scolded even more. Second sister Chu Ruohan was also flustered. Eldest sister was the calmest and strongest of the three sisters. It had been a very, very long time since she had seen her eldest sister cry. Could it be that Chu Wen doesn't like staying at school? Chu Ruohan asked worriedly. When Chu Xiwei heard this, she couldn't help but roll her eyes. He was the one who demanded to stay in the dorm, and now he doesn't want to stay at school anymore. Does he think we're such pushovers? Hearing these words, Chu Junlan's gaze suddenly tightened. She frowned at Chu Xiwei. Chu Wen is a member of our family, our younger brother, the son that mom carried for 10 months. He wants to come back to his own home. Does he really need someone else's permission? Chu Xiwei was stunned. It wasn't like they hadn't said similar things before. She didn't expect her eldest sister to react like this time. Chu Xiwei pouted, a little dissatisfied with Chu Junlan's serious tone. She couldn't help but mutter under her breath. I don't have a younger brother like him. Even Chu Guan was. Startled by Chu Junlan's sudden anger, Chu Xiwei clutched her momentarily reddened cheek, looking at Chu Junlan in disbelief. Her eyes quickly filled with tears. Eldest sister, you hit me? Chu Junlan looked at her youngest sister's state, not softening at all. She said with a stern face, you are absolutely not to say such things again. On what grounds? Chu Xiwei yelled back after being slapped. What kind of person Chu Wen is, don't you know? If he were just half as good as Chu Fei, I wouldn't disown him. All these years, have you forgotten everything he's done? Chu Junlan said coldly. On what grounds do you assume he did all those things? Do you have any proof? Chu Fei saw it with his own eyes. What more proof do you need? Chu Xiwei screamed hysterically. She couldn't believe that her eldest sister would hit her because of that bastard Chu Wen. Chu Fei, is everything Chu Fei says right? Why doesn't anyone ever consider that all of this could be Chu Fei's lies? Impossible, Chu Xiwei retorted without hesitation. A good person like Chu Fei, how could he possibly lie? Chu Xiwei looked at her with disappointment. What kind of love potion did that Chu Wen give you to make you defend him like this? Anyway, if he wants to come back, he'll be the first to disagree, Chu Xiwei said decisively. Chu Junlan took a deep breath and said painfully, he doesn't want to come back. Why? Chu Ruohan couldn't help but ask. Chu Junlan remained silent. She didn't know how to begin, because no matter what she said, everyone in the Chu family would feel that Chu Wen must have ulterior motives. Chu Ruohan was getting anxious. Eldest sister, you just said Chu Wen has a lot of injuries. Is that true? Chu Junlan nodded. It's true. Chu Wen took off his shirt to show me those scars. They were dense, horrifying to look at. Ever since we adopted Chu Fei has been bringing people to beat him up like this. It's been 8 years now. For the past 8 years, Chu Wen has lived under Chu Fei's bullying. Hearing these words, everyone gasped. Possible Chu Xiwei was the first to object. Chu Guoan couldn't sit still either. Could there be some misunderstanding? How could it all be Chu Fei's doing? Liu Ru also couldn't help but say, could Chu Wen be mistaken? 8 years ago, Chu Fei was only 8 years old. Chu Ruohan said hesitantly. Chu Fei said he bribed the police. She had never wanted to believe that Chu Fei would do such a thing. She was more willing to believe that Chu Wen had bribed the police, which led to her eldest sister's misunderstanding of Chu Fei. Chu Junlan suddenly said, since Chu Wen was 8 years old, we stopped giving him money. And he couldn't reveal his identity outside. He has no power and no influence. What could he use to bribe the police? Hearing these words, everyone fell silent. They desperately hoped to clear Chu Fei's name, that it was Chu Wen who bribed the police to create fake evidence. That's why they didn't want to think too much about these practical issues. Liu Ru had always thought those surveillance clips, videos, and images had been doctored. She had never wanted to believe that Chu Fei would really be like that. But now the truth was laid bare before her. She had no choice but to believe it. Thinking of Chu Wen, she felt a pang of heartache. He had so many injuries, why didn't he tell us? Because no matter what he said, we wouldn't believe him. From the very beginning, we only trusted Chu Fei unconditionally. Chu Junlan was filled with self-blame. In the business world, she was smart and calm, but for some reason, at home, she was so foolish. I went to his dorm to see it. There was nothing in his dorm. It was almost like a storage room. But that dorm is a little bigger, much bigger than the storage room. At school, no one scolds him or wrongs him. I wanted him to come home, but he shut the door right in my face. Chu Junlan said haltingly. It's all our fault. We've wronged him too much. Before I came back, I specifically went to their old school to ask, Chu Fei really has always been bullying him. Everyone's expression was complicated, unable to utter another word of rebuttal. They really didn't want to believe Chu Fei was that kind of person, but they all knew Chu Junlan's character. If it wasn't something she was certain about, she wouldn't have said it. Chu Junlan suddenly said, just now when Chu Fei had a heart attack, when Mom was hugging Chu Fei, I was right at the door. I saw it. He was smiling in your arms. Liu Ru gasped in shock, covering her mouth in disbelief. How could that be? Chu Guoan frowned. Did you see wrong? Chu Junlan said firmly. I saw it very clearly. He was really smiling. He smiled very smugly, and in that smugness there was a hint of malice. The word malicious to describe him is the most fitting for that smile. The living room fell into a deathly silence. Their feelings were too complicated. During a moment of silence, Chu Shiwei suddenly cried and said, Has everyone forgotten? Our three sisters' lives were all saved by Chu Fei. Have you all forgotten about that? As soon as these words were spoken, everyone fell silent again. The reason they doted on Chu Fei so much since he was a child was not just because Chu Fei was obedient and gentle, but also because when Chu Fei was very young, he sacrificed his own frail body to save each one of them. Chu Fei had saved their lives. No matter what he had done, it couldn't change this ironclad fact. They owed Chu Fei a life. It was precisely to save them that Chu Fei's body became so weak. The next day, Chu Wen skillfully turned on his computer. As expected, the stock he bought had skyrocketed. His capital had increased several dozen times over. Chu Wen looked at the calendar. 2 more days. In 2 days, this stock will plummet. At that time, he would sell it before it crashed, estimating he could make at least 500,000. Just as he closed the computer, there was a knock on the door. Chu Fei, right on schedule, brought an exquisite suit. Chu Wen opened the door and looked at the suit in Chu Fei's hands. The style and fabric were the same as the suit from his past life. Chu Fei changed his usual arrogant demeanor. His face even held a gentle smile. He held up the suit with both hands. It was all my fault before. This suit isn't this year's latest model, but it was designed by designer Yun. I'm giving it to you now. Consider it my apology gift. Designer Yun? Chu Wen asked, feigning ignorance. A contemptuous smile unconsciously formed on Chu Fei's lips. He doesn't even know designer Yun. He quickly hid the scorn in his eyes and said gently, That's right. Designer Yun is the most famous designer in our country. It's not easy to commission him to design clothes. This was the birthday gift Dad requested for me last year. It cost several $100,000. Look, it even has its design number here. I've only worn it once. I couldn't bear to wear it more. Chu Fei couldn't hide the smugness in his voice. Any one of his outfits cost several $100,000, but look at Chu Wen. He's wearing a school uniform. His wardrobe is empty, with only a few sets of clothes washed until they're faded. What does he have to compare with him? A smile formed on Chu Wen's lips. He reached out to take the clothes, and even carefully examined the number embroidered on the hem. He had, of course, heard of this designer Yun. It's said that every time he designs a piece of clothing, he uses a special method to embroider a unique number on the hem to prevent counterfeits. Every piece of his clothing is one of a kind, Chu Wen said with feigned surprise. So this is the legendary clothing designed by designer Yun. This expression of his made the smile on Chu Fei's face even brighter. Since you like it, big brother, then I'm relieved. After placing the clothes in Chu Wen's hands, Chu Fei added an uneasy instruction. This suit, you, will definitely look great in it. You must remember to wear it tonight, to my birthday party. You're already 16, it's time to get to know people in high society. Chu Wen nodded. Chu Fei left, relieved, and before leaving, he even specifically handed him an invitation, afraid he wouldn't be able to get in. The moment Chu Fei turned around, a cold glint suddenly flashed in Chu Wen's eyes. Night fell. After a day of school, Chu Wen put on the suit Chu Fei had brought and headed to the Tianfu Hotel. The Tianfu Hotel wasn't too far from the school. He still hadn't been able to withdraw his money yet, so Chu Wen was still flat broke. Using the little money he had left on him, Chu Wen got on a bus. The moment Chu Wen got on, he attracted the attention of everyone on the bus. The expensive suit he was wearing was completely out of place in these surroundings. Chu Wen ignored the strange looks from others, casually found a seat, and closed his eyes to rest. If nothing unexpected happens, there would be a good show to watch later. He needed to conserve his energy. The bus arrived at the stop, right near the Tianfu Hotel. Chu Wen got off the bus and had only taken 2 steps when Chu Junlan's voice suddenly came from behind. Chu Wen turned his head. What bad luck, to run into the Chu family here. Except for Chu Fei, everyone else was behind Chu Wen. They all looked at Chu Wen with surprised expressions. Are you coming to Chu Fei's birthday party? Chu Junlan asked first. Chu Wen answered calmly. Everyone looked at the invitation in Chu Wen's hand and glanced at each other in surprise. In previous years, Chu Wen never wanted to attend Chu Fei's birthday parties, and Chu Fei didn't want Chu Wen to go either. Why did Chu Wen come this year? And he even has an invitation in his hand. Did Chu Fei give you this invitation? Chu Junlan asked again. Chu Ruohan looked at the bus that had just departed and asked in surprise, Did you come by bus? Chu Wen glanced at her indifferently and nodded again. Everyone fell silent. Each of them had their own car. Even the underage Chu Fei had his own sports car. Chu Wen was the legitimate young master of the Chu family, yet he came by bus. Looking at the suit Chu Wen was wearing, Chu Guan's gaze was complicated. That suit was one he himself had gone to ask designer Yun for last year as a 15th birthday present for Chu Fei. At the time, Chu Fei loved it and couldn't even bear to wear it himself. Unexpectedly, it fit quite well on Chu Wen. This must be the apology gift Chu Fei gave to Chu Wen. For Chu Fei to be able to give this suit to Chu Wen, it shows that Chu Fei has a repentant heart. They should also give him another chance. Liu Ru wanted to step forward and say something to him, but Chu Wen had already walked into the hotel without looking back. Chu Guan said, Let's go in too. We can talk slowly once we're inside. Even though he didn't want to believe the truth that Chu Fei had bullied Chu Wen for 8 years, but towards Chu Wen, he also felt guilty. Stepping into the banquet hall, quite a few people had already arrived. The Chu family's appearance immediately made them the center of attention. 3 days ago, on his birthday, because he wanted a birthday cake, he was scolded and mocked by the whole family. 3 days later, for Chu Fei's birthday, it was held at the best hotel in Nancheng, inviting all the influential people to attend and celebrate. Those who didn't know would think that Chu Fei was the biological son of the Chu family, and he, Chu Wen, was the one who was picked up from somewhere else. When the pre-selected auspicious time arrived, amidst the host's exaggerated voice, Chu Fei appeared. He wore an expensive high-end formal suit, like a prince, slowly stepping into the banquet hall under everyone's gaze. As soon as he entered the banquet hall, Chu Fei couldn't wait to scan the room. When he saw Chu Wen sitting in the corner, Chu Fei's eyes lit up, and he felt relieved. Chu Fei sneered inwardly. Does he really think he can stand out at my birthday party and have mom and dad introduce him to these high society people? How could that be possible? Chu Fei walked straight towards Chu Wen. He couldn't wait any longer. After what happened yesterday, Chu Fei could clearly feel that these people were looking at him differently. He didn't like this kind of gaze. He wouldn't allow people to look at him like that, at his own birthday party. He had to turn the tables. Seeing the direction Chu Fei was heading, everyone's eyes held a hint of surprise. As everyone's gaze followed Chu Fei, they immediately saw Chu Wen sitting alone in a corner, eating while looking at his phone. When they saw Chu Wen's handsome face, everyone immediately remembered the live stream they had watched yesterday. After the live stream room closed, the content of the live stream immediately spread throughout the elite circles. You could say that everyone in high society had mostly watched the video last night. Everyone immediately started whispering among themselves. See that? That's the real young master of the Chu family. Didn't you see Chu Wen's school video yesterday? Didn't see it, I was too busy yesterday. What time did I have to watch any video? I always thought Chu Fei was the only young master of the Chu family. I never thought he was the adopted son. See that teenager in the corner? That's the real young master of the Chu family, Chu Wen. No way, I knew it. I remember the Chu family's young master wasn't named Chu Fei before. That's strange. Why would the Chu family let their real young master sit in that corner? Although everyone's voices were quiet, too many people were gossiping, making it hard for Chu Fei not to hear. Chu Fei secretly clenched his fists. He knew these people were gossips. He had to turn the tables immediately. He absolutely would not allow others to slander him at his own birthday party. The Chu family members saw the situation was not good and hurried to Chu Fei's side. Lu Ru quickly comforted Chu Fei. Don't listen to their nonsense. Today is your birthday party. You are the main character. If Chu Fei got sick from anger at this moment, his birthday party would be ruined. Chu Guan also hurriedly said, Chu Fei, don't think about anything today. Just play your role as the main character well. In the whole family, only Chu Junlan didn't rush to comfort Chu Fei, but walked towards Chu Wen. Chu Fei looked at Chu Junlan's back, a flash of hatred in his eyes. He put on a smile and said to everyone, Dad, Mom, second sister, third sister, I'm fine. I just have a few questions for my older brother. Following his gaze, the Chu family members also saw Chu Wen sitting in the corner. For some reason, the Chu family members suddenly had an ominous feeling. They subconsciously wanted to stop Chu Fei, but Chu Fei had already started walking forward without a word. Chu Junlan had reached Chu Wen's side a step ahead. Chu Wen saw someone approaching, so he had to turn off his phone, and the stock interface on his phone disappeared with it. Chu Junlan rushed to Chu Wen's side, immediately asked, Chu Wen, where did you get this suit? Chu Wen raised an eyebrow. If I say Chu Fei gave it to me, would you believe it? He thought Chu Junlan would make a few sarcastic remarks again, but unexpectedly, Chu Junlan nodded without hesitation. Chu Junlan leaned in to block everyone's view. She continued to ask, when Chu Fei gave you the clothes, was anyone else there? Chu Wen looked at her in surprise. What does she mean by this? Could it be that she suspects Chu Fei would do something improper? Isn't Chu Fei always the most perfect person in their eyes? Chu Wen pursed his lips, not answering her question. Chu Junlan grew anxious. Hurry up and tell me. She looked all over Chu Wen. Only this suit was of any value, and only this suit was related to Chu Fei. She saw that after Chu Fei entered, he went straight towards Chu Wen. This was too unlike Chu Fei's usual style. Previously, he never allowed Chu Wen to come to his birthday parties. How could he actively seek him out this time and let Chu Wen appear before everyone? She subconsciously felt that something bad was about to happen next, which is why she hurried to find Chu Wen first. Chu Wen raised an eyebrow, asking even though he already knew. The eldest sister of the Chu family. Why are you in such a hurry? Chu Junlan gritted her teeth. She didn't know how to answer Chu Wen. She could only turn around and walk towards Chu Fei. Chu Junlan called out to Chu Fei, who was striding forward. Let's go over there and take a look. There are still many guests over there waiting for you. Chu Junlan pulled Chu Fei's hand, wanting to lead Chu Fei away. She reflexively didn't want Chu Fei and Chu Wen to confront each other. Chu Wen had already suffered at Chu Fei's hands for 8 years, ever since yesterday when she saw Chu Fei. With that smile in their mother's arms, something in Chu Junlan's heart had changed. Chu Fei gently removed Chu Junlan's hand. His smile was warm and gentle, just like the gentle young master he was before. Eldest sister. I just want to talk to my older brother. Don't be so tense. After Chu Fei finished speaking, he immediately quickened his pace towards Chu Wen. Chu Wen watched his hurried appearance with amusement. After all, he was still a 16-year-old teenager. That eagerness, that rush for success. He completely lacked the calmness he had at 24 in his previous life. Chu Fei was not short. At 16, he was already taller than Chu Junlan. Chu Junlan was wearing high heels. She couldn't catch up to him at all. The rest of the Chu family followed behind Chu Fei, aggressively heading towards Chu Wen. This grand spectacle immediately attracted the attention of everyone present. Chu Fei arrived in front of Chu Wen. He put on that harmless expression again. He asked innocently, "Brother Chu Wen, a suit is missing from my closet. It's the suit that Dad had. Designer Yun make for me on my birthday last year. I've always cherished it. I couldn't bear to wear it." Hearing this, everyone realized something was wrong. In yesterday's video, the camera had accidentally captured Chu Wen's shoes. He was wearing a school uniform, but those shoes, although clean, were very old. If Chu Junlan hadn't personally admitted it, they would never have believed that someone dressed so shabbily was the young master of the Chu family. The suit he's wearing, you can tell it's not cheap. He wears such old shoes. How could he have such an expensive suit? Chu Fei said as he looked at the suit on Chu Wen. He pretended to be doubtful and said, "Brother Chu Wen, the suit you're wearing and the one of mine that's missing are almost identical." As soon as these words were spoken, the surrounding crowd immediately erupted. Chu Fei's clothes are missing, and they ended up on Chu Wen. What on earth is going on? Everyone understood just by thinking about it. Chu Guan and his wife looked at each other. What is this? They thought that suit was a gift from Chu Fei to Chu Wen. They didn't expect it to be. Chu Wen has clearly been at the dormitory. He hasn't come home these past few days. When did he take the clothes? They racked their brains without realizing that with just one sentence from Chu Fei, they had already believed him unconditionally, assuming that this suit was stolen by Chu Wen. This is also the reason why no matter what happened, Chu Wen never wanted to tell them. It was as if Chu Fei had cast a spell on them. No matter what he said, as long as Chu Fei opened his mouth, they would believe him unconditionally. It's just that this time, Chu Junlan was no longer as blind as before, although she also had no proof. But this time, she felt that Chu Wen definitely wouldn't do such a thing. Everyone already knew Chu Wen's identity. There was really no need to use such a clumsy trick to appear before everyone. Moreover, since entering the banquet hall, he had been sitting quietly in the corner, with absolutely no intention of stealing Chu Fei's spotlight. The people in the banquet hall immediately started whispering, "Identical? Could it be that the clothes on Chu Wen were stolen from Chu Fei?" Everyone knows that designer Yun's designs are all one of a kind. There's absolutely no way there's an identical one. It can't be that bad, can it? He's the real young master of the Chu family. Would he really do something like this? You guys don't know. Although he is the real young master of the Chu family doesn't regard him as anything at all. How can that be? Isn't he their biological son? To neglect their own biological son and dote on an adopted son instead. Otherwise, why have we never known about this young master? He must have been hidden away by the Chu family. I don't know what the Chu family is thinking. A biological son must be better than an adopted one. But he goes and steals other people's clothes. It shows his character is no good. Maybe that's why. He was hidden away by the Chu family? That's right. This kind of clothes stealing. It's so embarrassing. Hearing the loud whispers from the crowd, Chu Wen looked at Chu Fei with interest. He looked directly into everyone's eyes and said bluntly, "Chu Fei, are you saying that the suit I'm wearing was stolen by me?" Chu Fei and the rest of the Chu family all frowned. Just now, Chu Fei only said it was identical. He didn't directly say he stole it. At most, he could say it's a fake. He could just apologize and compensate for it. But if it's defined as theft, then the nature of it is completely different. This suit is worth hundreds of thousands if this matter gets blown up. And Chu Wen is charged with theft. He'll have to go to jail. Chu Fei reacted quickly. He suppressed his immense joy, hiding the corners of his mouth that he couldn't control. He pretended to be heartbroken and said, "Brother Chu Wen, I kindly invited you to my birthday party. How could you do this? If you didn't have a formal suit, you should have told Mom and Dad. They would have definitely bought one for you. I know you like to take my things. I already wore this suit to my birthday last year. Otherwise, it would have been fine to give it to you." In just 2 short sentences, the amount of information Chu Fei conveyed was enormous. Chu Wen likes to take his things. Chu Wen stole a suit Chu Fei wore last year. Whether he likes to take Chu Fei's things, nobody knows. But formal suits are usually only worn once. He's the distinguished young master of the Chu family, yet he steals a second-hand suit from someone else. This is just too humiliating. The direction of everyone's discussion changed instantly. No wonder the Chu family wanted to hide him away, having such a disgraceful descendant. If it were me, I wouldn't want to bring him out either. That's right. They had already subconsciously labeled Chu Wen as the abandoned son. If they were to speak up for Chu Wen now, it would definitely cause Chu Fei to lose face. Chu Junlan couldn't watch any longer. She rushed forward to stand in front of Chu Wen and said anxiously, "Chu Fei, there must be some misunderstanding here. Chu Wen isn't the type to steal things. Do you want to think it over carefully? Did you perhaps give this suit to Chu Wen? Towards the end, Chu Junlan's voice was almost pleading. As long as Chu Fei said he remembered wrong now, that this was a misunderstanding, then both of them could come out of this unscathed. The Chu family and Chu Fei all looked at Chu Junlan in disbelief. How could this be? Speaking up for Chu Wen in this situation, if Chu Fei admits he remembered wrong now, he would inevitably leave an impression of being petty in everyone's eyes. Adding on to what happened yesterday, how would Chu Fei live in high society from now on? Chu Wen was also very surprised. She was speaking up for him once again. Chu Wen's eyes quickly returned to their cold expression. He didn't need it. Chu Fei quickly calmed down. He took a deep breath and stared into Chu Junlan's eyes, as if questioning her eldest sister. Why aren't you on my side? Don't you love me anymore? Chu Junlan tried not to look into his eyes. He was also the younger brother she had doted on for 8 years. She had also saved his life. Chu Junlan reflexively didn't want to see Chu Fei get hurt. But Chu Wen was also her younger brother, especially after knowing what Chu Wen had suffered through all these years. Chu Junlan had a sudden realization. Protection for Chu Wen was far too little.